Man, that was such a good take, too.
Gosh.
Let's see if we can make the second take better than the first take.
That's right. Here we go. That was a false start. Welcome back to the podcast once again, and you don't even know why I'm saying that. We today are going to talk about something that I say all the time, but I've never really thought about what it means or if it could actually mean anything, and it is this. Good grief. I say it all the time.
And here on Just These Guys, we're going to talk about good grief today.
Good grief. It's usually directed right back at myself because of something that I've just done. Good grief.
And that's Pastor Mike for you.
Yep. That's how I roll. We got Dr. Parker in the house, and I'm looking forward to this because the question of the day is, can we ever really get to good grief?
I think so.
Because there is a lot of grief out there. I say good grief because I don't like to say, oh my God. I'm not even going to finish that. I say good grief out of frustration. But on a very serious note, can there ever be good grief?
Yes. And I don't know what the phrase good grief means.
Yeah, I don't either.
When we say it, grief,
Yeah. Like, no!
Yeah.
Homer Simpson.
Charlie Brown. But the idea of grief, it's not good when you're in it. The concept that there's good grief kind of flows from the four fundamentals that all emotions have a purpose.
Sure.
And when we learn and understand the purpose of the emotion, then we can use that emotion to maximize and benefit our life. And so I wanted to share just a couple of personal stories to take some of the edge off of what might be seen as making fun of people in grief. I'm not making fun of people in grief. I'm trying to share a way forward. So my first experience with significant grief was during graduate school. A lot of pressure, studies, classes, teaching, working. And in the midst of it all, and, these are classes, if you fail, you're out. So my entire life purpose is over if I fail a class. I'll go back to working at the car wash. Mm-hmm. But I lost a number of family members, like back to back, and just a series of short order. My sister had died in a car crash, and a grandmother died, a grandfather died, an aunt died, an uncle died, cousins died, and it was just happening, frequently. And when my mother passed, and it wasn't, it wasn't a quick pass. It was 30 days in hospice, and everybody's sitting there, watching and waiting, and it was a really hard time. Mm-hmm. Well, I was up at the university, and I was sorting some mail. That was my job that day. Was to put the mail in the buka boxes. And as I'm standing there sorting the mail, this professor walks up next to me and says, "Lance, how you doing?" And there was a moment I could tell him or just, pretend. Mm-hmm. And I told him. I don't know why, but I did. I told him. I said, "Well, my mother just died." And he started laughing. He started laughing lightly, then laughing heavier, and then laughing outrageously. And I'm getting a little offended at this guy at this moment. Yeah. I've got this ache in my heart, and he's laughing like crazy. And then he reaches and puts his arm around my neck and just starts giving me a noogie. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And he stands me back up and tapes him by the shoulders and says, "Lance, you got to laugh, because this does not happen to everybody. It's every semester you're walking in here. It's like a bad story from a kid who doesn't want to go to school. Oh, every semester another family member's died. I need a couple of days off." It's so horrible. You're going to have to laugh about this, or you're not going to get through it. No, I didn't laugh at that moment, but I kind of understood his sentiment of what he was talking about. Stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, what is going on, and trying to find some way to navigate through all of this rather than getting lost and buried in the emotions. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of something, a a thought that I had that really led to a realization, and it took a couple of years for that realization to sink in. But I remember when my grandmother passed, and she had 7 kids, and those 7 kids had 7 kids, and those 7 kids were in the process of having 7 more kids. So when she passed away, everybody shows up at her house, and it's a small house. And so it's just crowded with people, and they're all standing around crying and joking and telling stories about grandma and crying and I'm just straight up honest with you, help somebody out there. But I wondered why.
Hmm.
I mean, why are they crying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sounds really callous, but it was the thought that went through my head. You need to hear it. Grandma wasn't an attractive woman, and she wasn't necessarily that funny. She told the same jokes over and over again, and you know you heard the same stories over and over, and she was old, and it was, why is everybody crying, so hard over this woman passing away? And it finally hit me as they told stories about grandma. And some of them were not funny, and some of them were very funny. But the theme that ran through these stories was it didn't matter where you were in this world. On Thanksgiving, you were at grandma's house.
Mm.
It didn't matter. You couldn't use the excuse, oh, we're in California. You would catch it all year.
Yep.
If you didn't show up at grandma's house for Thanksgiving. And the stories that she told were, about my father in Vietnam and Korea War, my grandfather in World War II, Uncle Ed, who was in World War I, and just constant stories about family and life experiences from the time she was a little girl until present day, and it was just a constant recitation of these family stories. And as they talked and as they talked and they talked, they kind of came to the realization that we don't have any plans for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we want to do? And like, you're not coming to my house.
Yeah.
So they ended up settling on a summertime family reunion in a park that could hold all the family.
Yep.
And so as I kind of processed this over time, I began to realize that in their grief, as they allowed that grief to wash over them, and they stood with each other and they talked about the lost family member, the lost loved one. And as they told these stories about that family member, the purpose kind of flowed out of that. What was it they were missing? And like I said, I was very superficial in those initial moments about, she's old, she wasn't funny, it was kind of time for her to go. Why are you so sad? But I wasn't grandma. Grandma was family.
Mm-hmm.
That's the meaning that came out of all those stories. Grandma was family, and because of grandma, you were connected to other people across this country. You were connected to people in time, in history. And so grandma meant family, and Thanksgiving was a time for her to pull all the family back together to keep the family connected. And once they started to realize that in their grief and in their conversations, they then found a path forward, a way to honor grandma. And that was to do this family reunion.
Yeah.
And so as I watch people who struggle with grief, I do understand it personally. I've been through it. You've been through it. You do funerals all the time. You see this, you see the pain, the struggle. But for each person that's struggling with the loss of a family member, a loved one, that's oftentimes their first time.
Mm.
The first time in their life that they've had somebody close to them pass away.
Sure.
And they don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this knee-jerk reaction we all have that when we start to hurt, we try to shut it down, suck it up. And we get busy and we keep ourselves distracted. But as soon as distraction goes away, the pain, the grief rises back up. And we spin and we spin and we spin and we look for things to cope, but we don't know how to cope. And so I just wanted to share those stories because those stories point to the formula. That if you lose somebody who's very important to you, the grief is telling you, the emotion is very important. It is highlighting that person. It is saying to you, they were important.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention. And now with your grief, it is motivating you to think about them and to discern what was important about them to you. Why did they matter so much to your life? And as you allow the grief to wash over you, and as you allow to think about these things, about what you're going to miss, what they meant to you, if you stay there and you identify that meaning, the grief is now motivating you to do something to either honor their presence here on earth. And so we build memorials to people. We have gravestones. We make donations to charitable contributions in their name. We're trying to honor they were so important to us, that their time on this earth, that we are honoring them in this way, memorializing them, or, trying to live out their life. In this case, my grandmother always wanting everybody to stay connected and get together. The family picked up that mantle and ran with it and wanted to start a family reunion. And I've seen, you've seen many people do different things in honor of a loved one. And they may, my daddy always planted tomatoes and tended tomatoes. And every fall we had fresh tomatoes, and, we loved the tomatoes, and they pass away. And next year they're out there planting tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a way for them to live on. Even though they've passed away, they can live on through their children or through their best friends. Finding why they were important to you, what was their meaning to you in life, finding a way to memorialize that and or continue to keep them alive through some sort of activity that you can honor them with.
Yeah, turning bad grief into good grief by creating more good memories, honoring the memories and creating more. One of the ways that we do this, because both on my father's side and my mother's side, their moms were the glue.
Mm-hmm.
We've always referred to it that way, that they were the glue. Everybody went to grandma's. Yeah. In Wichita and down in Texas. That's where everybody got together. And once they passed away, you were almost grieving the loss of your family as well.
Exactly.
Not just grieving the loss of that family member, of the glue, but realizing I'm not going to be seeing these people as much.
Right.
And so even though that has happened, and it has absolutely happened in our family, we don't see each other. I mean, it was every weekend. It was just a different world.
Yeah.
And every weekend we would get together. Grandma would have, and it was in the kitchen, always in the kitchen, Grandma June. And there was a coffee on 24/7. And we would sit around the table in the kitchen and we would talk.
Yeah.
She would want to know all about what was going on in our world.
Sure.
And then we would play Progressive Rummy.
Uh-oh.
So it's a card game.
Yeah.
That was a long card game, but it was so amazing. There's so many good memories from. So what we do now, some of the cousins will get together fairly regular, and we'll sit around a big table and we'll have a good old game of Progressive Rummy.
And now for those of you who are listening on the podcast, as opposed to those of you who are on YouTube watching, Mike is smiling.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's grandmother's died,
Yeah.
and Mike's standing here smiling.
Yeah.
This is good grief.
Yeah.
Because you walked through the process and you've acknowledged her and you've figured out what's important and what she meant. And now that you guys are honoring her by getting together periodically to replicate those moments, you experience grief. I know in your heart right now there's a twinge of pain,
Mm-hmm.
loss and sorrow, but your eyes are a little misty. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
but
good.
You're smiling.
Yeah.
And so it's good to hurt.
Yeah.
That's how important she was to you guys.
Yeah. And I'm also standing here thinking, at some point in time, if it's really important enough to you, you would want to become the glue. So for the future, for now and for the future generations, if somebody just needs to step up.
That's a great way in this situation to honor
Yeah.
the grandmas, is that she was the glue. now I'm going to be the glue.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. And it's not, these are the examples he and I are using, but in your life with your parent or your daughter, whoever you've lost that was so important to you, there was something about them that mattered and that was meaningful and that they brought to life,
Mm-hmm.
or they were going to bring to life. There was I'll just say it, Charlie Kirk passed away.
Sure.
And how many people picked up the mantle
Yep.
that he, was educating kids and talking to people. People picked up his mission in life and started running with it themselves.
Yeah.
That is a way to grieve the loss of somebody. And so what I presented here in rapid succession here on the podcast is an alternative to just shutting down.
Sure.
Just drinking. This is what you do with the grief to get to that other side where you're now standing and hurting and smiling at the same time and happy to tell me the memories of your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
This is good grief.
Good grief. Yep. Yeah. We are Charlie Kirk. Yeah, that's a great example. Very much so. All right. Good grief. Well, I'll never say that again and not think about it in a much better way.
Yeah.
Instead of just frustration, think about,
Next time you're at a funeral and somebody's crying, start laughing at them.
Yeah. I'll just look at them and I'll say, good grief. You want me to help you get there? Listen to the podcast. Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
It's been good. All right. Go out there, and if you hit your thumb with a hammer and you say, good grief.
Remember what you learned today.
Exactly. Remember what you learned.
Pass it along. Share it.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all for listening. Have an awesome week.
And we'll see you guys next week.